What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another episode of Lions Latest, going through the latest Detroit Lions news as always, and we are back with our final episode of Detroit Lions training camp takeaways. Now, we may get notes going forward on Lions practice, so I'm sure we'll discuss those if that does come up, and we're going to continue to get injury updates. However, this was the last day of training camp that was open to the public. I believe it was day number 13, so let's get it started.
Fired up. It's made a great decision.
Great teammates, coaches, and other people who want to be Super Bowl champions. And we are. We're going to do it this year.
And we're going places, because we want to go places.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome everybody to a video. Glad you guys are here. We are back with our final training camp video, man. This went super fast. Friday the Lions play the Falcons, so tomorrow the Lions said they will be focusing a little bit more on what the Atlanta Falcons do. And I don't know if you guys have seen Hard Knocks. I'm sure most of you have. By the way, we'll probably talk about that a little bit more tomorrow with Rad. However, I don't want to hit on it in today's video because this thing will be just super long. Some of my takeaways, I've already taken some notes. But with that being said, I know that in the Hard Knocks episode, Dan Campbell did talk about, hey, anytime we're on the field, we're going out there, we're trying to hit him in the mouth, basically. I don't remember the exact quote from it, but I don't know if he's talking about just regular season or training camp as well, but I think he's just putting it out there. Look, if you're on the field, you're trying to win. So I know I'm excited for Friday because maybe the only day that we actually get to see the starters, and I'm here for that. So that takes place on Friday. Lions wrapping up training camp open to the public. As I said, we may continue to get news on practice and notes, so we may touch on those a little bit more going forward. But this is our last video where I was at practice and I got my own notes from Detroit Lions training camp to share with you. With that being said, definitely got to give some shout-outs. Shout out to my man that sat with me basically the entire time at training camp. We know we had King, the Radion. I think it would be Radion. Radion? I like that. Radion. Radion. Why do I keep saying Radion? Radion. That shirt. Also my man that sat with me basically the entire time at training camp, and everybody else that said what's up at camp. That was awesome. Shout out to you guys. I appreciate it. If you do see me at a preseason game or at a regular season game, say what's up. It's always cool to meet you guys. With that being said, though, let's dive right into this. We're going to start with the participation report first. I'll go through some of my notes and some of the things that Dan Campbell said at the presser because it was a pretty good one today. I thought he gave some very quotable lines. All right, I'm surprised I haven't seen this elsewhere. Then again, I haven't really looked for it. With that being said, let's dive into this. Let's take a look at the participation report today. I'm sure we'll keep getting updates on these injuries going forward. But with that being said, as of right now, here's how we're looking, okay? And this is more professional than yesterday. Yesterday, we were in a car doing a live stream. I understand that was strange, but that's where we were, so I just had to do it because I'm like, hey, I got to talk about it somehow. So, taking a look at the participation report, you see the top of the list. Those are the players on the PUP list still, and it continues to be Josh Paschal, Jason Kabinda, Jerry Jacobs, and also Romeo Okwara. And on the NFI list, we have Jamison Williams. Really no updates there. The ahead of schedule is kind of old, but really no updates with those guys. I did say that yesterday that Jerry Jacobs, basically he's another one of those guys that the Lions kind of have to pull back. They got to pull back Jerry Jacobs, trying to work back from his injury. With that being said, though, the guys that more recently, I guess, have been placed on kind of an injury list, and not on a list, but we know that they're not participating. Quintez Cephas, he's been out for a little bit. He's sidelined. Levi continues to be sidelined. Trinity Benson is a newer addition to this list, I believe, for the last 2 days now. Trinity Benson has been sidelined, and he was moving around, I guess, at practice with a sleeve on his leg. Johnson, as well as Ife Melifonwu, were sidelined, and then you also have Julian Okwara that's been there for a few days. And the update that he gave us, I believe, on Julian Okwara, Dan Campbell, that is on Julian Okwara and Levi, is that it's not like super serious where they're worried about long-term issues here. However, he doesn't know if it's a week, 2 weeks, so he couldn't put an actual date on that. But hopefully we have these guys ready by week 1. You have a guy like Levi who hasn't seemingly been that involved with training camp because he's missed so much time. That's the guy that you want to get back before week 1, like with some time to spare. That way he can start to get some reps in, possibly play in the third preseason game. But I don't know where he's at, so I'm not going to try to project where he's at because I have no idea. Also, Frank Ragnow was sidelined today. However, he did assure reporters that he is going to be okay. And we also, I guess, saw him running onto the side. TJ Hutchinson came up with a little limp. Actually, shout out to Pride of Detroit for that one. TJ Hutchinson had a little bit of a limp that they noticed, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And I'm sure if there's something that any of these guys are dealing with remotely, they will not have them out there. Dan Campbell said about the veterans, and he said in general, not specifically, but in general, like those guys may get less reps, but you still have to prove that you still got it. Now, if you have any kind of injury, though, that's a different case. And I don't know if Hawk necessarily counts as a vet. I guess he could count as a vet. With that being said, though, if he's dealing with anything, he's probably not going to play on Friday. That just makes sense. And then Taylor Decker also had some rest today. There were certain drives where you did not see him out there, and in place was Matt Nelson at right tackle, which, as we know, puts Penei Sewell at left tackle. Also, we did see a little bit of Kendall Lamb again today. I can't say I really noticed him when they went through team drills. I was too far away based on the viewpoint to really pick out some of the offensive linemen, so I couldn't tell if he was being involved in that. I'm sure he was, but I did see him go through walkthroughs at the beginning of practice once again at left tackle with the second and the third team. So I did see him there, just didn't see him go through any more of the live stuff. But again, there was no pads today. They just did situational drills. Still went the normal 2 hours basically, but it was a little bit on the lighter side today. Jeff Okudah, who, according to DetroitLions.com, told Tim Twentyman that he was clocked at up to 21.6 miles per hour in practice today. 21.6. Dang, Jeff. Okay, I see you. And he continues to rotate with the one. Dan Campbell told us basically not to make too much of the unofficial depth chart that has been put out there, but he said, why wouldn't Will Harris be listed as one of our top 2 cornerbacks, because he finished as that last season, which I guess we kind of got an idea of last year, right? There's kind of the, the veteranness where certain guys are on certain levels based on where they were last season, and certain guys have to take that away from him. I would assume that Will Harris is going to start on Friday. Also, Jeff Okudah has missed some time with rest. It's not injury related, they're telling us. It's just been some rest. Today he was back out there practicing, but he's missed time throughout training camp with rest. So I would assume they come in with Will Harris as a starting outside cornerback across from Amani if both of those guys play, and then Jeff Okudah gets his chance next. And it's one of these things where they're going to compete and battle for that role. I still ultimately believe it will be Jeff Okudah above him when the season ends up starting, but I think Will Harris will come into training camp as the one. That's what it looks like right now. But he used Godwin as an example. He's like, he might be listed as like the 6th running back, but he made the team last season for what he could do for us on special teams. We know that's a huge part of it. Is he pointing to, hey, look, Godwin's actually going to make the team and you guys are missing it, but Godwin's going to make the team because of what he does for us on special teams? I don't know. I felt weird keeping him off of mine, so maybe I'll have to put him back on there. Regardless, those are your participation updates, and as I said, I'm sure we'll probably continue to get news and updates from the participation report going forward. Dive into some of these notes that Dan Campbell gave us, and then I'll dive into some of the practice notes. Dan Campbell told us before he wasn't going to watch Hard Knocks, and he said he did not watch Hard Knocks. However, he heard about some of the parts from some of his friends that kind of told him about it, maybe jokingly about it.
One of our rookies, he did horrible. This man started singing the iCarly song.
Hey, wait a minute. I don't know why they left this out of the episode of Hard Knocks. Please tell me this is in an upcoming episode of Hard Knocks. Like, this cannot be left out. I need to see this, please. No, wait. I mean, I just want to see it. I really do just want to see him sing it. But he was asked, what do you want players or, people to see and understand about the Detroit Lions? And he said,
We value wins, and we're looking to win. That's what matters. Out of all this other stuff, all the smoke and mirrors, the clouds, the freaking, it's we're trying to focus on winning. We got to find a way to win, because it's all for naught. So this whole beautiful bubble and all these things, man, you lose your first 3 games or something, and all of a sudden I'm getting run out of town, and that's the reality. And these players don't look as good. So we got to find a way to win. That's what camp's about, and we got to be ready to go.
This is the quotable line that he made. He said, if we lose our first 3 games, I'm going to be run out of town. Okay, now I stop right there because, literally I don't think he's going to be run out of town if they lose the first 3 games. I wouldn't think he'd be fired there. But obviously people will be like, oh my gosh, this guy's on the hot seat, right? If you lose your first 3 games against Philly, Washington, and the divisional opponent. But with that being said, it is, to me, a obvious self-awareness, and I think coaches are usually self-aware of the situation that they're in. It can impact actions and things that you make. You have the understanding of where you're at, but Dan Campbell definitely expressed the understanding of the situation. It's like, yeah, all this stuff is great, and it's outstanding, and I know I'm expecting the Lions to be much better this season, but I have told you guys, us winning 6 games is not an accomplishment this season, in my opinion. If it is to you, that's fine. To me, us winning 5-6 games is not like, yeah, we did it, guys. It's not going to be that. And as he says, hey, this is all great, but if we lose our first 3 games, he understands. I mean, what is the talk going to be? The Lions are 0-3. I mean, it is what it is. And we can look out and say it won't be, but we understand that it will be. That's just how it goes. That's just this business. It is all about wins. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And when you look at the moves that the Lions made, which I think free agency, they didn't get desperate. They continued to follow their plan, which I love. And in the draft, they added playmakers. They added pieces that can also help us now as well. And he said we are banking on our guys developing. So the first year going into second year players, we're banking on them developing. At the same time, we're also giving some of these guys bigger opportunities. And we're going to talk about that in a second. But I thought that was just 100% self-awareness, being honest with the reporters. Like, look, I understand this stuff's outstanding, but literally it does mean nothing, because if we go out there and lose football games, if anything, it might make things just worse if we go out there and start 0-3. That's just an example that he used. I don't think the specifics matter there. It's more just about the obvious situation of, hey, it does come down to winning football games, and that's all it's going to come down to, because regardless of what we think of him now, you can flip anything and make someone pointed as the bad guy or the good guy based on how he does. If you win, you're looked at as this, but you win, it's like, well, that's actually kind of a good trait how he acts. But at the same time, if you lose, then it's like, man, look at this guy, he's crying and stuff and he's losing football games. Focus on winning, harden up. You know, people can flip it however they want to flip it based on actually how the results are, because at the end of it all, it will all come down to results, and Dan Campbell was aware of that situation. But I still love the way that they approached this offseason, everything that they did this offseason, right? They weren't desperate, they weren't chasing things, they stuck to their plan, and their plan, I believe, will lead to some good results this season. He did talk about some of the young guys, because someone asked him about John Kaminsky, which thank goodness whoever asked him about John Kaminsky. You know what? I don't remember who it was, but claps for you. Thank you. I've been talking about this guy every single video, because every time I see practice, I'm like, oh, there's John Kaminsky. Oh, there he is again. And Dan Campbell was asked about John Kaminsky, and he said, you know, he's one of our players. He's the bring your lunchbox types of players. You know, that's what he is. He just works. He's a versatile player that can play, you know, the strong at the end. He can kick into the three on pass situations, and he's one of those guys that they want to start getting some reps in with the first and second team to see how he does in those situations. He said we did it with Demetrius Taylor, Malcolm Rodriguez, or Rodrigo as the Lions, I guess, call him. And today, John Kaminsky did get some higher reps in practice. I'm not saying John Kaminsky is going to be the Charles Harris, but John Kaminsky to me is going to be a very legitimate piece to this team. He's not just going to be a guy that's on the roster and you never hear about him. He's going to be an impactful player, especially early if some of these interior guys are not healthy along the defensive line. Hopefully they are. I think he's going to be a heck of a player, man. He has flashed in training camp every single day, and I really liked what he brought to the table just based on when we ended up getting the claim in for this player. So with that being said, sorry, that was a lot there. Let's dive into some of these notes that I have from practice today. At first, when he went through 11 on 11s, and again, remember, there are no pads on, so it's kind of tough with the run game when there's no pads. Even Dan Campbell has admitted that. It's a little bit tougher to gauge the run game when there's no pads.
I don't want to put anybody in jeopardy, but we have to do it, man. I believe it. We're not going to do it every day. I'm going to give you an illustration tonight. Man, I got a plan, I swear to you. All I think about is you guys. That's all I think about, man. That's all I think about is you guys.
And remember, Taylor Decker was taking some rest from time to time. There also was no Frank Ragnow, so we saw Evan Brown there at the center position. But regardless, I thought when they came out, they worked on a lot of zone rushing attack, a lot of outside zone, inside zone, just zone rushing attack. But specifically, beyond that, are plays off of it. Plays off of that attack, whether it was running the football, whether it was having some sort of end around out of it, some jet out of it, whether it was having some sort of play action bootleg, some rollouts, plays off of it that looked very similar. That seemed to be how they really kicked off the 11-on-11s, because you had a 6-yard run to the left. And by the way, I will give credit here. I thought DeAndre Swift again looked super explosive going through this stage of practice. The beginning portion, I thought he looked really good, because then they had a zone run right? So again, you know, just flipping it the other way, Swift had a cutback, and I think he would have been gone. And I think they were going at 100%. It just wasn't situational. But I think he would have been gone, man, if he would have, you know, been in pads. Regardless, it was a heck of a cut, and you could just see the explosiveness through the hole. Comes back with Josh Reynolds on a crossing route. Tim Boyle mixed in there. Tim Boyle throws a nice swing pass, which was set up as a screen, so it's like a swing screen to Craig Reynolds, where, you know, I think they had a receiver blocking in front. I think they had a tight end leak out and get in front of him. Another good run behind the tackle, and Tim Boyle also had a nice little rollout pass to Devin Funchess. I have been noticing Devin Funchess much more, so I'll point that out. He's seemingly been a bigger part, even when they were going through walkthroughs. Second and third team, he wasn't with the first team, but when they were going through walkthroughs, he did line up at the slot a little bit, so he's splitting out a little bit wider at times. So definitely something to keep an eye on with that position. I really didn't notice James Mitchell, even if he was practicing today. Maybe he wasn't. I don't know. I didn't notice him. Maybe he wasn't practicing today. That definitely could be the case. But in terms of tight ends in the passing game, Devin Funchess has definitely started to come on as a bigger weapon in that area for the Lions, which makes sense. I mean, that's what he is. I mean, he was a former receiver at Michigan that was built like a tight end, and he came to the NFL, and he's utilized as a receiver as a high draft pick, and Lions said he's going to play tight end. Other notes that I had from the 11 on 11s, I don't want to bore you guys with the small things. I know this is late because usually I would just roll through like all the plays I had wrote down, and I'm sure, again, I missed some, but I'm just going to hit you with some of the big ones. So another one that stuck out, they did a tight end screen to TJ Hutchinson, which would have been a pretty monster gain, working on some of their 11-11s. One of their play fakes, come back to the tight end screen. Lions did that a lot last year. Don't expect their screens to go anywhere. The wide receiver screens, the bubbles, whether that's a screen quick, tight end screens, I mean, whatever it is, don't expect the screens to go anywhere because they're just there. That's just, it's a big part of their offense, just to pick up a few yards. It's been a very big part of the offense. Then I noted a nice dig route by Tom Kennedy where he had a nice completion on Imani. So Kennedy was thrusted into a much bigger role today because there's no Cephas, no Trinity Benson today. It's a opportunity without J-Mo where he stepped into a little bit bigger role, got some opportunity with the ones. And again, anytime, like, he's not the most dynamic. Special teams is up in the air. If the ball's thrown to him, he pretty much comes up with it. Then I also had him winning a route against, I believe he was matched up somehow with Kirby Joseph. It could have been out of a sub package. I couldn't really tell how that happened. But you could see Kirby Joseph chasing, and he won on a slant route. Another swing pass that I had from this time, David Blau to Craig Reynolds. Khalif, St. Brown, some of those guys got some underneath completions. Shane Zylstra got mixed in there a little bit. And then I also had another play action deep dig route on Mark Gilbert. Mark Gilbert continues to get good reps, by the way, and he was actually listed on the unofficial depth chart as like a second string outside cornerback, and he has been getting good reps, so it's understandable. I think that's based on just the reps they've been getting so far, but he had a nice dig route on Mark Gilbert. Tom Kennedy did again in another completion. At least through those drills, Tom Kennedy did flash multiple times to me. It was hard to see because, again, they were across the field, and at this point, I wasn't actually standing up. I was sitting down, but once I stood up, it was easier to see some things. I went to the back and stood up along the back of the bleachers. All right, so now we get into some of these situational drills. So the Lions, at first, I was so thrown off because they put 3:41 on the clock, 3 minutes, 41 seconds, their own 25, and it was 24-14. That was the score with 2 timeouts. And I was confused because, you think, okay, down 10, you got to be kind of aggressive, right? Nah, Lions came out, playing it really slow, then clock drip. I realized, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's happening. They're playing as if they had a 10-point lead. So they did both sides here. They played the situational game. Made me think of Chicago because I know the game was 24-14 when we lost that. Lions had a lot more time. They had actually 7.5 minutes on the clock at that point. Start off with Will Harris being and working with the first team. Like I said, Jeff Okudah mixed in. I'll talk about that when it happens. But first starts off with Will Harris with the first team. And it starts out with a play-action boot play to TJ Hutchinson, which picks up a first down initially. So they're trying to run the clock. And that's one of the plays that I love the boots. I love the boots in these situations, especially on the first couple of downs. The third down gets a little bit more dicey because then you're like, well, do we run the clock or do we, try to be a little more aggressive in the situation? But on the first and second down, when you're trying to drip a clock to go to a play action rollout, I love those. And I would definitely have to see the play again to understand how the flow worked. But they had like a double tight end motion. They had set the right side as the heavy side, and then the play seemed to flow to the opposite side, the left side, and Jared Goff boot out to Hutchinson on the heavy side. So it set it up really nicely. Just the whole play design was really well done. Then it came back with a toss left, and then a zone read run by Jared Goff, which picked up a first down. We've seen this a few times now. Another zone read run, fake to the running back. He took off outside the left tackle, and I didn't know how far he actually got, but I guess it was just enough to pick up a first down. So 2 first downs going through this drill. That took you to the 2-minute warning. So now we're at the 2-minute warning. They're still trying to run this clock out, and that's when the defense stands up and they make a stop, and it was a good stop. Start off with Jamal Williams with a handoff, picks up 2 yards, timeout defense. So there was like 1:56 left. Then they came back with a misdirection run. I would like to see them be a little more aggressive here, but I get it. You got your first down, you're up 10, there's only 2 minutes left. I get it. Be a little more conservative, run those 2 timeouts off the clock. I understand. So they went to a misdirection run left, which was stopped for -2 yards. Tracy Walker shot down and got involved in that play. T-Walk, man, I love watching T-Walk work it to the backfield. And then to finish it off, it looked like they did some sort of, I don't remember exactly what it was. It looked like some sort of end around, but maybe more of a reverse look. Looked like a sort of like an end around that they did on third down, which picked up a few yards, but I guess Imani made a very clutch stop and got him off the field. So they ended up getting off the field, but after giving up 2 first downs. They also did a situation, I can't tell if these were connected, I don't think they were, but they were up by 3 with a minute left, I believe, and they tried to, again, get a stop defensively. Offense tried to run the clock out. Another misdirection run for a few yards for Jamal. Then I think it was a handoff right, which picked up about 5. So it was a 4th and 1. And I think the offense tried to get them to jump. I don't know if there was was a false start or what, but they blew it dead and they stopped it. But I think either someone jumped off sides or there was a false start, and then they switched it up, and this is when kind of the roles reversed. Now they're down by 10, and they had to go see if they could score potentially 10 points in that time span. It started out outstanding for the offense. Like, it looked effortless the way they moved the ball down the field. There seemed to be zero resistance, which in a way is a little bit concerning, but you'll see the tides turn a little bit as we continue to go through this. Shane Zylstra hitting an out route on Chris Board. I think that picked up like 8 yards. So it was a really good start to the drive, and they do this a lot. And if you could set up concepts where you get matchups, where you trust your matchup against a guy that you like, and it's an out route, and then he could get out of bounds potentially, I mean, that's a heck of a route to start off, pick up 8 yards. You'll take that all day long. So that's how they started off the drive. Then they came back to like a quick curl route that was caught for a first down, and then was the first big play of the possession, which was Jared Goff. There was some heat that was coming off the edge. You could see the pressure kind of collapsing from the outside the pocket. Goff was forced to step up into the pocket, and he hit DJ Chark on a deep dig route. Now, one thing I did notice is getting over top, I guess in just general today, there was a lot of forced dig routes. So I don't know if that was an adjustment, if that was something they were trying out, if that's because Tom Kennedy, doesn't really have some of the juice to get over top. So they said, let's be a little bit different with some of the ways that we try to get over top. Or it's because, hey, the defense is backed up, let's just get underneath the safeties. I think it's more of the defense is backed up, let's get underneath the safeties due to the situation. We're going to hit some dig routes. But I also think due to Tom Kennedy, they probably just adjusted a little bit, because having run vertical, he's probably not going to get consistent separation. We saw that yesterday against Jeff Okudah when he really just didn't get open over top. So that was the big completion that they had. That was Jeff Okudah was now mixed in at outside cornerback. Okudah was in coverage, and you saw Tracy Walker kind of jump down and try to bite down on it, make a play on the football. But it was a nice grab in traffic coming downhill from Tracy Walker. And I couldn't tell necessarily if Jeff Okudah was just in tight man there, if he was passing it off to the safety. I couldn't necessarily tell. Could have been like a cover 4 type of drop where, he breaks inside and you're kind of passing that off and there's that little space between. Regardless, it was a nice hit that they had. It could have been more of a deep curl, but I think it was more of a dig route to DJ Chark to pick up a big gain. Then they went to a quick out route to Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's kind of like their bread and butter in these situations. Then another big shot play, which was Josh Reynolds along the left sideline. Looked like a back shoulder type of go up and get it high point pass to Josh Reynolds along the left sideline on Will Harris. Well put ball. Josh made it look too easy at the catch point. Toe tap sideline, got out of bounds. Then you had a pass breakup, which I thought was from Tracy. But I guess it was from A.J. Parker, who broke up a pass on a curl that they ran to Amon-Ra St. Brown. So whoever did it was a fantastic break. Maybe it was Tracy that was celebrating, but someone gave me one of these. So that must have been Tracy, and I'm like, oh, that was Tracy made the play. Probably was A.J. Parker. That would make more sense. The incomplete stuff, let's just go score. That's what they did. They got Amon-Ra St. Brown matched up on Alex Anzalone, and Deshaun Elliott was in the end zone, and it was no shot. You had St. Brown run like a middle post, and he caught a touchdown between the two, and boom, there you go. With still over 2 minutes to go on that clock. So it was about a minute and a half they took off the clock, and they were already in the end zone. It was a fantastic, really polished, really well done drive. But that's when the defense said, okay, this is stop. We got to stop him. We got to do something. And it came from the area that you would hope that it would come from. Now, before that, the Lions did do onside attempt. It was failed. I don't even know if it got 10 yards, but someone just dove on it. It didn't really look that contested. It was like, okay, that was a fail. So they tried the onside, just did not work. They have been working on this the last few days in practice. I talked about the trick plays and stuff, and what the offense was working on and how they're busting out trick plays in training camp. Feels like they're in a good spot offensively, comfortability offensively, and they are clearly flowing way above the defense right now, just in terms of finding a rhythm, specifically the first unit. With that being said, though, they're also busting out a little bit of onside attempts as well. However, that was failed. Offense got the ball. They had 40 seconds that was put on the clock. They were down by 3, so they just needed a field goal, but they had no timeout, so they had a lot of ground to cover. Well, the first play started off with a little underneath pass to Devin Funchess for about 8 yards. Matt Nelson was at this point at right tackle, so I don't know if the last possession he was, but I know he was here. I noted that. They had Funchess underneath about 8 yards again, getting involved a little bit underneath there, picked up a nice little gain. And that could be an area where he could be a little difficult for guys underneath, you would think, right? From, flats, crossers, anything that can get picked up by a linebacker because of his wide receiver experience and his build and his athleticism, that could be an issue for some of those guys. And in this case, picked up about 8 yards. However, after that, there was a guy named Aiden Hutchinson that said, you know what? The Hard Knocks was great. I sang Billie Jean. I was on a high from it. Let me keep rolling. Here's what he did. Aiden Hutchinson, the second play of that possession, he had a pressure that forced Jared Goff to step outside of the pocket left, and it didn't seem to be immediate, but I couldn't really tell. Either way, it was a pretty quick pressure, forced him to kind of step up and then out of the pocket left and throw a deep post pass to DJ Chark because, of course, he can't take a sack and they're not going to hit him, so they would just blow it dead if he gets close. So it's one of these situations where you got to get the ball in the hands. There's no timeouts. So he throws it deep to Chark. There was a safety on him and there was a cornerback on him. Wasn't really that open, and it fell incomplete. So now it's third down. I guess that first move he beat Evan Brown, which, of course, is a backup center, but he played well for his last year. And then Aiden Hutchinson said, man, you know what? Let me go back and be a guard. Again, the interior presence. We need guys that can win on the edge because I think they want Hutchinson in the interior, especially in these obvious pass downs. He is extremely a big problem there. And again, if you get pressure from the inside, there's nowhere to go. If you don't allow a quarterback to step in the pocket, it can cut the field in half. It can really limit your areas. If you don't have a very athletic quarterback, he could struggle getting outside of the pocket. And even as he is, you're walking into those edge guys. Well, third down, Aiden Hutchinson basically just destroyed the whole drill because he had a sack beating Jonah Jackson to the pocket. Forced a sack on Jared Goff. He got there very quickly. I also know that Eric Banks was in the backfield, so I think he may have been involved and got a little bit of a pressure there too. Again, shout out to Eric Banks. Some of these guys getting opportunities with other guys out. And because of that, now the clock's running down. It's 4th and long. They're trying to get everybody back. They snap it with about 10 seconds as everybody's just trying to run back to the play because they couldn't stop the clock. And he threw a deep post pass, probably across the 50, and it was caught. It was a good throw, really good throw. Put it out there, gave St. Brown a chance. Good catch for a huge gain, but they didn't have any timeouts. So the clock ran out with a few seconds left. Clock ran out, and that ended that drill. So defense stood up tall in the second unit, led by Aiden Hutchinson. But in the first go-through, the offense just absolutely sliced them up. So it was nice to see that. When they got to pin their ears back, they went crazy. But a lot of times what we've noticed is the big plays have been the difference in these drives. Now, this first drive through wasn't a lot of massive plays, but there was a couple of chunk plays. But there wasn't any big plays that were converted here, and a lot of that had to do with Aiden Hutchinson taking that away. I could see a little bit of a defensive adjustment to get their safeties back a little further, which is absolutely what you want. And that could have been part of the reason why I thought Swift was slicing and dicing when he was getting the ball in their first 11-on-11 sets. Because if the safeties are back, if you're just in a two-shell look, you have bodies. You can run the football, right? So if you're under center and you have two, if you're in 12 personnel and you have two safeties, dude, you're money. You're money running the football. Regardless, that's how that drill ended. So it was a good day to end scenarios. Again, there was no pad zone, so always keep that in mind. The kicker battle, Cybert, I guess, won it today. I couldn't tell on all of them. He definitely showed off some legit power. He went 3 for 3 from 41, 44, and 47. Meanwhile, Riley Patterson had a miss wide right from 44 yards. That battle continues, but Dan Campbell, when he last spoke about this, said he thinks Cybert's, a tick of the way in the lead. Those are my notes from Detroit Lions training camp today. Definitely a fun day. And again, I appreciate everybody that, said what is up at camp. Everybody has met there. It's really awesome to meet you guys. Shout out to the players for taking pictures, doing autographs. I know you're making everybody's day when you do that. That stuff is outstanding. And man, Friday, game day, Atlanta. We're here. It's that time. I'm ready to get it going. I love training camp, but honestly, I'm ready to get this thing rolling. I'm ready to see some dang live action, and that is Friday. Tomorrow we'll probably talk about Hard Knocks with Rad, as we're probably going to do a show or two. I don't know how it's going to go down, but the day before the game, and then Friday is the game. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.